AnnexA Control 5.3, Segregation of duties, or, as I like to think of it, the control that exists because of Dave.
Let's talk about Dave. Dave works at a 12-person software company. Lovely bloke. Dave writes the code. Dave approves his own pull requests. Dave deploys to production on a Friday afternoon. Dave is also the person who administers the logging platform. And in a beautiful stroke of organizational design, Dave is the person who checks the logs. So when Dave breaks production, who finds out? Dave. When does he tell anyone? Whenever he feels like it. Cute. Now look, I want to be fair to Dave, because most small companies are built exactly like this, and it is not laziness, it is arithmetic.
You have 12 people, 4 of them are in sales, 1 does the books, and the rest are trying to ship a product before the money runs out. Nobody sat down and said, let's design a system where one person can quietly do anything.
It just happened. It always just happens.
So what does the standard actually ask for? The wording is short and it is quite blunt. Conflicting duties and conflicting areas of responsibility shall be segregated to reduce opportunities for unauthorized or unintentional modification or misuse of the organization's assets. Noticed the 2 words doing the heavy lifting there. Unauthorized and unintentional. This is not just an anti-fraud control, it is an anti-oops control. Most of the damage I have ever seen in small companies was not malice. It was a tired person with too much access at 6:30 on a Thursday.
No, before you ask, this one is not new in 2022. Segregation of duties has been in the standard for years. What changed in the 2022 revision is the housekeeping. The old Annex A had 114 controls across 14 sections, the new one has 93 controls across 4 themes, and this one landed in the organizational theme as Annex A Control 5.3. Same idea, tidier filing cabinet. So what counts as a conflicting duty? Here's the shape of it. You want to separate who requests a change, who approves it, and who implements it. You want to separate who writes the code from who pushes it to production.
You want to separate who administers a system from who checks that system's logs. You want to separate who sets up a supplier and who pays the supplier, because that one is how small companies quietly lose money to invoices from a plumbing firm that does not exist. The test is simple. Ask yourself this. Is there a single human being who could start an action, approve it, carry it out, and then erase the evidence without anyone else ever noticing? If the answer is yes, that is a conflict. Write it down. Here's where I want to push back on something, because there is a whole industry of consultants who will hand a 12-person company a segregation of duties matrix built for a bank, 40 roles, color-coded, a tab called governance. Adorable. You do not need that. You need 1 page on the left. The risky actions in your business, deploy to production, change access permissions, approve an invoice, delete or alter logs, add a new administrator. On the right, who can do each one and who checks. That is your analysis. If it does not fit on 1 page, you have gold-plated it, and you will abandon it in 4 months. And the auditor will find a document last modified before your product launched. Now, the real question, the one you actually came here for. What do you do when you genuinely cannot split them? Because sometimes you cannot. Dave is the only person who understands the deployment pipeline. There is no second Dave. Hiring a second Dave to satisfy a control would be, and I mean this technically, insane. The standard knows this. It says explicitly that where segregation is difficult, other controls such as monitoring, audit trails, and management supervision should be considered. That is your route. It is called compensating controls, and it is completely legitimate. It is not a loophole, and it is not cheating. So what does that look like in practice for Dave's company? First, 4 eyes on the actions that actually hurt. Not everything, just the ones with real consequences. Production deployments get a second person's approval in the tooling, even if that person only skims it. A second pair of eyes is not a code review. It is a witness. Second, take the logs away from him.
Ship your logs somewhere. Dave cannot alter them. Append only, separate account, different credentials.
If your administrator can quietly rewrite the record of what your administrator did, you do not have a log, you have a diary. Third, someone who is not Dave goes through the access list every quarter. And here's the bit people skip, that someone does not need to be technical. A founder can look at a list of 11 names and ask why a person who left in March still has an active account. That is not a skilled task. That is a task requiring one thing Dave structurally cannot supply, which is not being Dave. Fourth, and this is the one everybody forgets, write down why. Document that you assess the conflict, that separation was not practicable at your size, and that these are the compensating measures. Give it an owner and a review date. That is not paperwork for its own sake. That is the difference between a company that made a decision and a company that had an accident. Let me name the failure modes because there are 3 and I have opinions about all of them. Failure 1. God access with no witness. One account that can do everything, and the only monitoring is that person's own conscience. The conscience is usually fine, right up until the week it is having a really bad month. Failure 2. Segregation on paper. Collapse in practice. The policy says 2 approvers. The reality is Dave has the second person's credentials because they were on holiday that one time in 2024 and it was easier. Shared credentials destroy segregation instantly and silently. And this is exactly where AnnexA Control 5.17 on authentication information comes in. Failure 3. Segregating everything until people route around it. If approving a one-line copy change takes 3 humans and a day, your team will build a shortcut, and it will be worse than what you had. Friction is a budget. Spend it on the risky actions and nowhere else. Where does this sit next to everything else? AnnexA Control 5.2 gives roles and responsibilities, which is where these decisions get recorded. AnnexA Control 5.15 covers access control, and AnnexA Control 5.18 covers access rights, both of which are how segregation gets enforced rather than just asserted. AnnexA Control 8.15 covers logging, which is your evidence. AnnexA Control 8.32 covers change management, which is the process this control shapes. And Clause 6.1.3 is where you justify all of it in your statement of applicability. Right, here is your dare, and it takes 10 minutes. Name the one person in your company with the most access. You already know who it is. You thought of them before I finished the sentence. Now list, on paper, the 3 most damaging things that person could do this afternoon. Then answer one question for each. Who would find out, and how long would it take? If your answer to any of the 3 is nobody, or eventually you have found the gap, fix that one first, ignore the rest. And please be kind to Dave. He didn't design this, he just kept saying yes.